go! Good evening. Welcome to the Steel City podcast. I'm Leanne Lohman, joined as always by Zach Franciscus, and we're like light and dark, TJ Watt, home and away, good versus evil, any of those things. And we're going to get into TJ and all of that exciting news, as well as so much more to talk about tonight. It's actually been kind of a busy week, and we've got a lot of like little tiny things to talk about. And so we got an hour, so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right in. And I want to bring this up first, Zach, and ask your opinion. The Steelers issued their throwback jerseys or uniforms came out. They honor the 1933 team, which was the first year that the Steelers were in existence. They were still the Pirates back then. They're going to have this matte gold helmet, these tan pants, little stripes on the jersey, and the block numbers. I am little city crest. I mean, I think they're really cool. I'm curious what you think about them.
I think these are really, really awesome. They're very similar to what I think I have made in Madden many, many times. And to actually see it out there, I've always wanted like almost all yellow, as much yellow as you can have, just for one game. And this is, but it's sleek. I didn't expect the sleekness. That's what I'm really impressed with. Like, people really took their time with this. And I saw on Twitter a big shout out to the Steelers for not letting it leak. The fact that it actually stayed undercover until they wanted it to. So great reveal. Great reveal.
We pulled the tweets up that we knew something was coming, right? But we didn't know what it was. We even knew it was going to be a throwback uniform, but not what. I put a little picture up there of what it looked like back in 33. And they did have yellow pants, at least in the one picture I could find, or the graphic that I could find. I know some of the fans were less than thrilled about the tan pants, but I think I like the nostalgic kind of like old school feel of them. Like, the whole point of this is supposed to be throwback, not an alternate uniform, right? So to me, like an all yellow, all gold would be like an alternate uniform. And the tan to me very much speaks like old NFL, and we're one of the few teams that were around back in the 30s, and I say we should be rocking it. So that's awesome. I think it's very cool. I know that, you know, opinions were mixed on Twitter, but yeah, I like it. I like that it's different. I think it's going to be fun.
It really will. And it goes really, really well with the color rushes that we have that are almost totally black. So it goes really, really well. So we're going to be the only one now that we have left to complete the set is we need an all white one. So come on, Steelers, put that together and that'll look cool.
Yeah. It sounds like, if it's true, like they're going to unveil that for the game against the Titans. I think it's a Monday night game in October. So I think that's what I had seen was the game that they were going to use it. So I saw this little tidbit. I don't want to spend an hour debating about Aaron Rodgers, but I thought this was interesting. He went viral the other day. He hit a kid, or nearly hit a kid, with his golf club, and then refused to apologize. And the kid said, "You almost hit me, Aaron Rodgers." And he said, "Almost doesn't count." And I guess he kind of got roasted on social media for that, for, you know, this is why we don't like him. This is the kind of person he is. You know, he's rude. He's inconsiderate. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe he could have been joking, but maybe that's not the joke you make to a little kid. I'm not very sensitive about stuff. So this, when I read it, it didn't upset me.
Yeah, right off the bat, I'm thinking, I don't know what golf etiquette is. I've never been to a golf tournament, but in my mind, you get that close, it's kind of like you know what you're up for. You might get hit with the ball. You might get hit by something. And as far as I know, if that happens, you're now part of the game. So if he would have gotten hit with it, it actually would have been better for him than not to get hit. So he actually missed out, kid.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I don't know. I just thought, he didn't actually get hit. I don't feel like it's that big of a deal. I mean, go to baseball games, kids almost get hit with balls all the time, right? And the baseball players aren't issuing apologies. I don't know, but I also know golf is a little different, and you're right there. And, you know, in protocol, like if you were actually playing golf and you almost hit somebody, would be to apologize or yell for. So I don't know. I don't know why the kid was so close to him with his golf club anyways.
That's a good point. There's ropes there for a reason. And so this actually isn't Aaron Rodgers' fault or the kid's fault. It's whoever's supposed to be watching to make sure people don't lean over the ropes.
Let's just blame that parent. Piss poor parenting. Wanted to give a shout out to Max Starks, who's going to be stepping up this season and taking over for the late, great, fabulous Craig Wolfley as the color commentator for the Steelers network. And I think this is so awesome for Max. He's such a good dude. He's done such a good job down on the field. It'll be interesting to see who the Steelers bring in to fill his shoes on the field. But this is a great promotion for him and well-deserved.
And big shoes to fill.
Yeah. They're going to need a big dude for him. He's a big dude.
Yes, very much so. And it feels like they didn't take this search lightly. Like they wanted to find someone who, not to replace Wolf, but someone who could kind of come in and keep things going without much of a bump. And I think Max Starks is going to be great at that. I haven't heard a game through Pittsburgh media for a while because I've lived in Florida. So I really, the last time I heard that, wow, that was 2004 was the last time I was in Pennsylvania to hear any kind of Pittsburgh radio.
Yeah, sometimes I listen to them on the app or online. Do you know what I mean? And they do a really good job. I've also listened to a lot of after the fact stuff. But I think most of the fan base likes to have that guy who has that inside knowledge. Do you know what I mean? And a former player like Wolf and now Max. And so, yeah, I think it's fantastic. All right, look, there's a lot to dive into with TJ Watt, so let's not waste any time. We'll get going right away. So the whole world knows TJ Watt signed his contract. Maybe this made this a little hard to read, but I had to pull all of this information. Holy cow, TJ Watt is freaking enormous. I mean, he is so big. In this tweet, they said he looks like he ate JJ Watt, and it's not hard to understand why. Yeah, he's big. So what do you think? He's signed this big new contract. He got the guaranteed money he wanted. I saw the Depot put out that Mike Tomlin was adamant about getting this done prior to training camp, which is new for the Steelers. You know, we've been talking about this and feeling pretty confident this was going to go down to the wire. And you know, like it did with this last time. So how are you feeling about this new contract for Watt?
I think the timing is important. I think we've been talking about it all off season. This shows a continuation to the new kind of Steelers that there are, where we're not going to wait. I understand that you want to, but listen, maybe the Steelers paid a little bit more. Maybe Watt gave a little bit more. Maybe there was a little bit more midway, but they understood having everybody there for camp with their head on straight was more important than anybody's ego at this point. And to have people start to set that aside, I don't think people understand how important that is to making a real run in the NFL. It has to start with people saying, I'm not that important. This group here, that's what's important. And I haven't seen that since the Big Ben era of Steelers. So that's really, really exciting. And there's really only two schools of thought. There's Watt deserved it, or my God, we overpaid an old man. There's no middle ground.
Yeah, we're going to talk about those two opposing viewpoints here, but I want to talk a little bit about TJ Watt's impact. And Zach, I think you have a video to kick that off.
I do. It's very exciting. It might not cover the whole screen, but it'll be fun.
TJ Watt, oh, it's good to see you again, my friend. Here comes TJ Watt. Talk about an apex predator coming out and getting the job done. That's TJ Watt. A fumble caused by Watt again. Down by TJ Watt. And he's sacked. TJ Watt with the fumble. He's hit without a helmet, Billy. Down he goes. What a rush that was. And TJ has a Sackmaster comes through the biggest of moments.
I love it. That stuff makes me ready to run through a wall. And I think that's, for me, when I look at the big picture of this and whether he's worth it or not worth it and all of those things, it's the impact that I look at. And so you look at most sacks in the first 8 seasons of his career. I mean, there he is behind some highly esteemed company, right? And then you look at the most sacks since 2017, most quarterback hits since 2017, most tackles for a loss since 2017, most forced fumbles since 2017, all Watt. I mean, just unbelievable, that he's already making a case for himself to me as a Hall of Fame player. Like, I feel like there's no doubt that that's the way he's headed, and his impact is just undeniable. So we'll talk about some of the fan opinions that have been popping up on social media. But Zach, do you feel like this is a good deal for Watt? Like, I mean, is he the impact equal the amount of money we paid?
He is, and there's a very good comparison, because I've said on other podcasts on this one that TJ Watt is our quarterback and has been for a while. He's the guy we paid the most money to, and eventually we're going to have to pay another quarterback. But a good comparison is, and I'm not saying he's exactly these people, so no one jumped down my throat, Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
As Peyton Manning, dead center of his career, Peyton Manning on his own could win games for you. That's what he was paid to do. And the older Peyton Manning got, the more people you had to start putting around him. That didn't diminish what Peyton Manning meant. It just meant you have to more around him. You watching now, as Patrick Mahomes gets older, they're starting to have to put more pieces around him, or he's not going to win Super Bowls the same way. TJ Watt is the same way. And the reason the signing is so good is TJ Watt, I guarantee, gave up a chunk of money where he said, listen, it's more important that I go into this team where I am not going to need to be perfect every game. If I have an off game, or if something happens, everything's not going to fall apart. And that pressure alone might mean more consistency. I'm so happy about this signing, because it is that bow on the offseason that I wanted. I'm not expecting anything else. If we get another wide receiver or safety, that would surprise me even more. But overall, just a brilliant signing. And I said before, I didn't care how much money it costs, but I think a $1 million per sack is worth it.
It's pretty worth it. Yeah. So his contract, is gives him that guaranteed money that he was looking for. And we talked about this on the last couple of shows. I feel like what Watt was really wanting from this, obviously it's all about building generational wealth and setting his kids up and his family up and all of those things. But I think also there's like a respect piece that comes with this. Like, I don't care if I'm getting $1 more than Myles Garrett, do you know what I mean? Or $1 more than Max Crosby. But, I want for just a minute to be that most paid player in the NFL. And it was interesting that the players, look, I always say, fellow players can say nothing. They can choose to say nothing. All the time people sign contracts and no one says anything. So to see them all come out, for Watt and be so happy for him and so excited for him, all of these guys that are his teammates, I thought was fantastic. I mean, they really could have said nothing, but I think, like you, they know that he is the backbone of this team. He's the quarterback, if you will. He's that guy that they really need. I knew that there was going to be like some negativity, but I have to be honest, I was a little blown away by just how negative people were. I don't do the negativity. So we're not looking at 900 slides of, assholes complaining about us paying Watt. But I found that there was like some reoccurring themes, right? That we overpaid him. Donnie Chedrick said the Steelers caved. We knew they would. Somebody else called TJ Watt like a has-been and said that, we overpaid him. Somebody else brought up that this is a Browns fan, obviously, that Garrett went in the playoffs against Watt. Watt has 0 playoff wins. Nothing else matters. And I gotta say, like, I don't feel like that's in any way fair. Watt isn't responsible for whether we have playoff wins or not. Was it maybe his best game? Some of those games, maybe not. That's fair, right? But you can't blame him in a team sport for a loss any more than you would blame anybody else on the team. It just doesn't make sense, right? And lots of really good players go through their whole careers and don't win Super Bowls, don't win many playoff games or any playoff games. And it doesn't diminish the effort, the work, and the impact they make, right? Like our shot to get there is on TJ's shoulders. Without TJ, we're not even making the postseason some of those seasons.
Oh, 100%. That's the reason, not just the reason, but a big reason why all those players came out and were so vocal about how excited they were, because every single person on the Steelers roster, whether you're on the bubble or whether you're Cam Hayward, is sitting there saying, if Watt goes anywhere, we are winning nothing this year. And I want to make that very, very, very clear, because I told my family when we were together for an event a little bit ago, and I'm going to say it here. Signing Watt changed one thing for me. It made the Steelers go from a we should win a playoff game, and I'll say this, we will win a playoff game this year now that we have signed Watt. Confirming he is here, his head's on straight. At least one. The Steelers will win at least one playoff game. So, but the amount of negativity, it makes it really easy to see who doesn't know football. That's what I will say to those people, because you actually have to dive deeper than what you see on the surface to understand why Watt couldn't have been the same Watt he was at the beginning of the seasons at the end of those seasons, because of what is demanded from the defense, the different injuries that he had to try and come back from. Watt was like half a person. He had half a shoulder during part of last season. The amount of things, but if you want to cherry pick stats or pick a playoff win for a defensive player as a singular stat, then you can, but you shouldn't win any arguments based off that.
Right. And look, right now we could have some mid-level quarterback that we were paying more money to than we just gave Watt, right? And we have the luxury of not having to do that this season. The Steelers have an out with Watt's contract after 2027 if they need it, which is nice. There's a little release valve if it's necessary. So you're looking locked into him for 2 seasons, which I think is totally reasonable, right? Given his age, and they have that money that other teams just don't have. And I feel like the thing that people keep forgetting about is that just because you're in your little bubble as a Steelers fan, looking at this, you're only looking down at Acrisure Stadium and you're only looking at the Steelers pocketbook, and you're feeling like, well, Watt didn't have such a great season last year, and so he doesn't really deserve this money, and other people could step up and do what he did last year. I think that people are forgetting that it's about more than just that. And you also have to step back and look at the NFL view, not just the Steelers view, right? So whether you like it or not, the reality is how other guys get paid becomes a factor into this. And it's by the time the season starts, somebody's going to be making more money than Watt. There's no doubt about it. At some point, the Bengals will cave. They'll play Trey Hendrickson. They're stupid they've waited this long. He'll wind up making more money than Watt. I mean, some Micah Parsons. Do you know what I mean? There'll be guys that are paid more than him, and that's okay. That's the way the league is. So every time you see somebody get this massive contract, before you know it, somebody else has stepped up and gotten more money, because that's going to constantly be what people want. So when you're in that top, 0.5% of players at your position like Watt is, you can command that kind of money, and your team has to pay it or they lose you. I mean, there's just nothing else to it, I mean, look at Michael Parsons, look at Trey Hendrickson. Do you know what I mean? They're in a position we're going to lose them. You can't make the same argument for Watt that you used for Cam Hayward last year, right? These are different situations.
Yeah, and for anybody who thinks this is just proof the Steelers will just pay anybody, number one, pick a side. The Steelers, cheap, or will they just pay anybody? But if the Steelers decide just throw money around willy-nilly, then George Pickens would still be in Pittsburgh with a really big contract extension ahead of time. Yeah. So this, and just from the other perspective, I like that you brought up Trey Hendrickson and Micah Parsons. I guarantee both their agents are furious, because they know that if Watt would have kept holding out, more money was on the table and they just lost out on money. So while Steeler fans and some people might say, oh, we overpaid Watt, my goodness gracious, when you see what Hendrickson and actually, really, that's a very good point. Parsons is going to make sure he is paid, because if you've never seen Micah Parsons play, it's the reason people play football.
Yeah, he's that
good. He really, really is. And so when you go to pay these players, Steelers paying ahead of other teams, number one, doesn't happen. We wait, we sit, and we say, oh, we're the Steelers, right, we're going to do it our way. This shift in dynamic, to me, shows that, number one, Mike Tomlin is willing to continue to take hands out of cookie jars. And more of Omar Khan's fingerprints are on this because patience was a big part of this. So bravo overall.
It's part of why they did this now and didn't wait until this, right before the season started. Because if you wait till right before the season starts, look, Relic said he doesn't think the Cowboys are going to be able to keep Micah Parsons. Somebody's paying Micah Parsons. It's happening. So whether it's Jerry Jones, who always seems to have magical wallets full of money to give guys, so whether it's the Cowboys or it's another team, somebody is paying Micah Parsons top dollar. Somebody's going to pay Trey Hendrickson top dollar. These guys are going to get paid. And the Steelers know if they'd waited, then you're just tacking on, more money and more money and more money to what you're going to owe Watt, because he's going to continue with his stance that he deserves to be the highest paid player in the NFL. So the more players you get paid before him, the higher that number goes. We know what it is. We know we're keeping them. Let's just go ahead and pay him. Now, I love this. Now, you don't have this distraction during training camp. You've got Watt there working with the team, working with the defense. Do you know what I mean? And I think that that's huge. Jerry Jones is an asshole. Relic said he kind of insulted Parsons these last few days. He's been doing it all off season, and Parsons retweeted something talking about it. I don't see the Cowboys keeping him, but I do see the Steelers getting him. That would be unbelievable. That won't happen.
Relic, and we'll actually talk more about that near the end of the show. About we don't have room for another pass rusher. We just don't. It's an embarrassment of riches. But the reason Jerry Jones is being the way he is he is all kinds of pissed off that the whole NFL teams colluding with each other about not giving guaranteed money was blown open. And now that if he doesn't want to give guaranteed money, everybody knows why. He is sore about that. So that's funny to me.
He's kind of kooky and crazy. Do you know what I mean? And he likes this stuff. I mean, he has a pattern of doing this with everybody. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. I spent a lot of time reading NFL articles from all these other teams, and this is like his pattern. This is his MO. He likes the attention. He likes the drama. And then somehow he magically always finds the money. Well, I don't want to make it seem like all the comments that came in about Watt were negative, because really there was a lot of positive comments. You saw Jalen Ramsey, the other players all really happy for him. Doran Dickerson thinks this is going to be an all-pro season for him. Hard Rock came right out and said the Steelers are the most dangerous team in the NFL on the back of that signing. I love that Pastor Rung, who works for the Steelers, made a comment similar to the one I made earlier, that TJ won't stay the highest paid player in the NFL. So everybody just needs to relax. He deserves to get paid. He deserves to make his money just like everybody else who's excellent does. And that's his situation. We saw a lot of other former players, Brett Kiesel. I saw Jerome Bettis tweeted something out. JJ Watt doesn't ever want to pay for dinner again, which I think is awesome and well deserved. And I, don't agree with Kevin Adams very often, but I like this. He said, do I want more playoff success? Of course, I'm not a Yinzer dumbass, but TJ, isn't the only reason that they haven't won a playoff game. He's a dog, and the defensive player, one of the greatest defensive players of all time in the league for sure right now. And he's deserving of that money. So, let's go. Kalisberg brought up a good point too, which is that he really appreciates TJ Watt not making a bunch of drama, asking for a trade this offseason, like all that chaos that happened with Myles Garrett, in the Browns organization. And I think that that's a really valid point.
Oh, it really is. And if that right there doesn't show you the difference in the NFL, I remember when people worked their entire careers and you wouldn't even get close to the illustrious $100 million club. Like, that was a club a while ago. Now it's just, that's the contract.
Terry Bradshaw worked another job when he was first playing football. He sold, I think it was insurance. He sold his own peanut butter. If you've never seen that, you need to Google it. Terry Bradshaw's peanut butter. He was doing like motivational speaking, like all kinds of stuff. Like those guys, when my dad was going to play, he was going to have to work another job. Like that wasn't, at the time he had a sales job, and he would have had to stay with that sales job and work it out with his playing for the Steelers, because you can't you didn't make enough money to be able to just subsist off of football. So, I mean, times have changed and the numbers continue to grow. And look, if you take issue with the salaries in the NFL, like that's a bigger issue than TJ Watt, right? Like that's not getting solved by Watt's contract. And that's what I always say to people when they say, well, that's ridiculous. Nobody deserves to make that much money. Okay, but why should Watt not get paid when everybody else around him is? Like, put yourself in your shoes. If you were at work and they were like, oh, Bob doesn't deserve to make this much money, and so we're going to pay you $10 less an hour than we pay all of your coworkers that do the same job. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you would freak out. Nobody would stand for that. And there's no reason Watt should either, because this is his job.
Exactly.
We talked about the uniforms. We did talk about the uniforms very first thing, but we're definitely interested to hear your opinion if you want to share them.
Absolutely. I'm actually very interested to see about that.
Yeah.
But what I completely forgot what you had said before that.
Oh, about the reset in the market. You know what I mean? And people complaining about people getting paid.
Oh, yeah. People think that if Watt doesn't get paid, the NFL owners will sit back and go, you know what? We were wrong about this whole thing. Let's distribute this money to the poor. They're going to pay somebody.
Or they're all of a sudden going to be like, you know what? Christian Kuntz really deserves like $5 million more a year. Like, do I think he does? Sure. But like, that's not going to work this way. Like, that's just not how this works. And I agree with you. It doesn't sound like he was, super greedy. He probably could have been greedier. He could have demanded a trade. Somebody would have paid him outrageously. It doesn't sound like that was the case. I think it sounds like the two of them worked together. They managed to come to an agreement faster than any of us thought they would.
No, 100%. I was fully ready and patient to go down to the wire. And like I said earlier, it is so heartening to be able to see this, because that means there is a real desire for this team to come together in training camp as a team and see where we go from there. That's exciting stuff, that camaraderie early on.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. I don't know what relics comment me. It makes me feel old. I don't know if that's good or bad. I feel so old right now. I have no idea what that means.
Oh, fucking booty. He doesn't like them. He thinks they are ass.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if that was some slang.
Not a fan of the New Jerseys. We kind of liked them, Relic. I liked them. I think Zach did too. We thought they were kind of interesting. What is it you hate? The tan pants? I think that's what people hate the most.
Weirdly enough, if anybody is watching this and also playing Madden, go in and look. That's the closest kind of you can get to like white pants for the Steelers.
It did kind of remind me of the uniforms during the Batman movie, like not exactly the same, but they were similar to the ones that they wore in, was that Dark Knight or one of those movies?
Oh, that's true.
Remember when the Steelers and Ford and Ben and they were on the sidelines? I think that's what movie it was.
That was them. Oh, yeah. That is true. It does look like that. Well, hopefully that there'll be some positive victories from that.
Oh, Relic really wanted the Batman cape uniforms. I just don't like the whole outfit they put out. Those Batman cape uniforms are pretty cool. I can see that. They are really cool. There was some talk about them last year. Well, all of this stuff with Watt kind of made me start thinking today. We talked last week about this idea that like the Steelers are all in on this season, right? Like Super Bowl or bust, baby. We got Aaron Rodgers. We went, all these big contracts, the biggest one we got. And it got me looking at these off-season moves. And I'm not the only one. I mean, you look at these big moves, they're the two biggest contracts ever in franchise history between Watt and DK Metcalf, which is freaking amazing, right? Then you look at all the other people that they brought in: Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, Slay, Jonnu Smith, right? TJ Watt's big contract. And it starts to get me wondering, if they really are all in on this Super Bowl, like, is that where they're headed?
It's certainly, if not Super Bowl, I don't know if it's the best offseason ever, because it's kind of hard to quantify that, but I will say this. Right. It's a different offseason than before. There's be no way to look at what the Steelers did during the offseason and say, yeah, I know how they're going to do, because it was about building. It was about farming up. It was about, let's draft these guys. Let's put them in there. Eventually, we're going to have this foundation. This is the first Steeler offseason where, because of the offseason moves, you can look towards season and say, yeah, they're all in. Look at how much they're already trying. I'm not used to that because a lot of teams have this approach every single offseason. We don't have this approach ever. So it is incredibly significant. So because a week ago, I would have said, I'm not sure if it's Super Bowl or bust right now. TJ Watt signing and making sure that he was at training camp. I mean, there's going to be no hold in, no holdout, nothing. He's just going to be there and fully paid. No distractions. So I don't know any other message that could be sent other than, hey, guys, we don't know where all in takes us, but we are all in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's huge. I mean, I really do. I had a slide. I can't get it to work. I don't know why it won't load about whether or not people are underrating this team. And I feel like they are. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's a good thing. Like, I feel like the Steelers operate best from a place of being an underdog. I know most fans agree with that idea. And so, let them keep underrating us. But I had seen that like the ESPN had us ranked as like the 19th best team, which at first I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's like halfway through the league. And I was like, I think that's a little bit of an underrated, you know what I mean? Like we're underrated 19th. I think it was 19th, 18th or 19th. And I was surprised by that, that I feel like they're putting in more than, do you know what I mean? Enough that it would put them higher than that.
You'd think so. I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm right there with you about I want us in the shadows. I don't want anyone paying attention to us. I hated that 11 in the season.
Where ESPN or anybody else thinks this team ranks. Like that doesn't matter. They're never right? You get to the end of the year and hardly ever is it the teams they think are going to be great that are great, with the exception of like the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Exactly. And there are some of these moves that if you look at them individually, seem like they are big, boom or bust, like Aaron Rodgers, but putting them all together the way we have, it's like they're trying to get a rise out of me. Like 19th, that's just, you're right. The more it sits, I'm like, well, that's not even just out of playoff position. Wow, you're talking high draft pick at that point. I'm like, oh man.
I was like, oh, 19. Then I was like, wait a minute. Not happy with that. Relic said TJ Watt 3 years is perfect. As Nightcap said, a lot of people are acting like Watt is 35. He's 30. He's still in his prime. It was a good signing. I wasn't fine with the trade. Relic would have been, but he said, but I also wanted him signed. He's a massive player who we can't replace. Even with 8 years of first round picks, it was a good signing. And that's my thing is, I thought it was funny for all these fans that were out there talking about all these first round draft picks that we could have gotten for TJ Watt. Also talking about how Watt isn't good and isn't worth the money, but then also talk about how the Steelers are terrible at drafting people in the first round. So like, make it make sense. Like none of you guys make any sense. It can't be everything, right? We can't be bad at everything. And then we're still going to get some like massive haul of like 5 first round picks for Watt or something crazy.
It's made it very, very clear this offseason that those particular Steeler pundits or Mark Madden-esque people who thrive on the negativity simply are finding a hard time finding that negativity now and finding the things that they're doing wrong. And so they're flailing around more. I mean, to not be able to take a step back and see the forest and the trees both and say, my goodness, what a well-constructed offseason. What an amazing job at walking that line between building through the draft, not sacrificing the future, and still competing for now. That's impossible in the modern NFL. That's insane. I mean, I'm just beyond impressed with it because to start the offseason where we did, with me saying, okay, well, Najee's gone. I'm mad. I'm upset. And I don't understand the game plan.
You said the rebuild word like 6 times a show at the beginning of the offseason. I haven't heard that out of your mouth in like 6 weeks.
Well, the Steelers had to change my mind about it. And they did it. And credit to Omar Khan. He didn't give a fuck what anybody thought about it. He was like, I'm doing this at our pace. I know what and I guarantee there was no Sports Center on in his house, ESPN, there was nothing. He probably had Turner Classic Movies playing, classical music on Alexa just walking through.
Yeah, I'll be so bummed. Yeah.
Just walking through.
Yeah, look, you can never, it's just like a draft, right? You can never grade an off season accurately until you've had a chance to see how it's going to play out. So it's premature to say, that this was a rousing success. But I will say it was the most exciting off season I can remember in a long time. And I don't remember an off season where I felt like I don't know what's going to happen next. You know what I mean? Like I felt like we were so predictable for so long. Like this is an off season where you're like, I'm so thrown off balance by the signings and the aggressiveness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen next.
Oh,
Well,
100%
Zach,
agree.
I do say there are no more excuses. We have our quarterback. We have our wide receiver one. We have TJ signed. We are all in. If no playoff wins, it's time for a real sit down about what's wrong. We can't go 10 years and no playoff wins. Yeah. So let's go for the ring, because otherwise it's going to be a hard talk no one wants to have. I agree with that. And I think anybody who knows me even a little bit knows that I'm like very pro Mike Tomlin. But I do feel like whether it's him or something else, there needs to be a conversation about why they can't get over the hump.
And I think not with the TJ Watt contract, but with Mike Tomlin contract and the Omar Khan contract. What this is set up to do is say, okay, Mike, you got this. We have 1 year. Everything everybody wants. Omar Khan, you want this? Mike Tomlin, you want Aaron Rodgers? Come on in. If you can't do it, we burn this all down. We draft a rookie quarterback. And by the way, burn it all doesn't mean release everyone. It means it's going to be Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and no one else.
Yeah.
Anyone that's worth anything will be traded. We'll do all that. But Relic, you're right. Because if we can't win a playoff game with all of this, then a lot has to change. Now, unless we go like 3-14, Mike Tomlin ain't getting fired. In fact, even if we do that, Mike Tomlin probably is not getting fired. So, but what it will say is that it changes the road dramatically, where it's okay, Mike, no more veteran quarterbacks for you. Rookie quarterback, if you can't do it, you got 2 years, and then mutual parting of ways, and boy, big hugs, and that's how I see it going. So, Relic, I do agree. So, I don't think any Steeler fan who is an adult should be upset about that, because if you can't win with this, then what other choice do you have but to start over?
Right. Speaking of those three names that you just mentioned, the group that I work for, PFSN, did their top 100 players for 2025. And they had Cam Hayward listed at number 2. I tweeted it out. It took a lot of people by surprise. Watt was 27. Alex Highsmith was 99. So I want to preface this by saying, first of all, that this is impact, right? So this isn't like pure stats. They call them impact players. So the most impactful players in the league headed into the 2025 season. Here's what they said about Cam Hayward. Even at 36 years old, Cam Hayward is still showcasing elite defensive line play. He led the league in defensive stops with 47, a testament to his disruptive presence against both the run and the pass. Among DTs, he ranked 5th in total pressures and recorded 8 sacks. His 12% pressure rate ranked 9th, highlighting his efficiency and relentless motor on every down. Hayward's impact extended beyond the stat sheet, anchoring a Steelers defense that relied on his veteran leadership and playmaking ability. He tallied 12 quarterback hits, which was 9th in the league, recorded 71 total tackles, including 35 solo stops. His ability to generate pressure while maintaining gap discipline made him a cornerstone of Pittsburgh's defensive front. He's heading to year 15, but his production and consistency have remained among the NFL's elite. The only player who ranked higher than Cam Hayward was Lamar Jackson in impact in the NFL.
And if anybody needs to be convinced more about why he's in that position, me and Lan were talking before, Cameron Hayward last year had the same amount of pass breakups as Patrick Surtain, Trayvon Diggs, Jalen Ramsey, Xavier McKinney, and Christian Gonzalez. Those are defensive backs. That's insane. So impact, I mean, just the last player that had that many like pass breakups at the line of scrimmage that I remember was J.J. Watt. And if you don't remember J.J. Watt in his heyday, just knocking everything down, that's the next close I can find. So, and I feel like I have to spend another offseason apologizing for how much I doubted Cam Hayward and then the season he followed up with, because I am still very, very sorry for that. Yeah. But which is why I'm not doubting Watt at all. I'm done doubting veteran Steelers defensive players.
You. Just direct that anger at Zach because I didn't doubt you.
I did.
Little gem, and I had to bring it to the show because who doesn't love to laugh at the Browns? Time to check in on how the Travis Hunter trade is working out for the Cleveland Browns so far. It'd be Mason Graham, who actually puked in his helmet at practice and had to go clean his helmet out. And then, of course, Quinshawn Judkins, who was arrested for domestic violence and is still waiting to figure out what was going to happen. I believe he is the only second-round pick that has not been signed to a contract yet in the league because he was in jail. He got out on bail, but he's looking at obviously missing, unless something happens. He looks like he's missing at least part of the beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah, that
at least.
At the time, I struggled to find any sense in that trade. I find less sense of it now. There's none. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Draft Day, but the first time I saw that, I'm like, no GM's that stupid. I mean, that's a Hollywood trade. That happened with the Travis Hunter trade. Just completely like Chase Claypool fleeced at top of the draft. So just my God.
Breaking news. Jerry retired. Wow.
Oh, Honey Badger.
Interesting. I was
that does make me sad. I always wanted to see him play for the Steelers.
Yeah,
I legitimately always did. Mm-hmm. Always wanted to. That sucks.
Well, good for him. It's interesting when players wait till like the night before training camp starts to retire. But now, maybe you're like, I just can't do this shit again. I know I said I would, but now I'm thinking about getting out of bed tomorrow morning and I can't do this.
Exactly, and I'm correct to say, well, it was Tyrann Mathieu that came back from it was a form of cancer or something that he came back when he was in college or he had to come back. I feel like I'm right on that. I just completely forget the story behind that. But now I'm curious.
I'll have to look that up. While you're looking that up, will you hit our drunk uncle video and let's do our drunk uncle tweet?
We're gonna drunk uncle it up.
Look, it feels like low-hanging fruit to go with these guys, but come on, man. You got a 2 for this week with Mark Madden and Andrew Filipponi. I mean, again, Madden, you work in sports media. You should be smart enough to know that somebody's playoff stats aren't the be-all, end-all of why they are deserving of a contract or doing well. And then Andrew Filipponi after, so in case you're thinking this was before, it was not, it was after Watt signed his contract, still talking about a potential trade. Like what?
I don't. I mean, when I saw this Mark Madden tweet, the thing that I laughed out loud because I accidentally clicked on the icon, which brought up all of his tweets. And underneath that was his dumb grinning face saying, "Hey, I'm on Cameo too." I'm like, "Oh my God, dude, who is?" Oh, what? It just made me like laugh and angry at the same time because number one, playoff stats are not a defensive thing. But Andrew Filipponi, dude, you're like, there are people who legitimately see him as a respected sports media pundit, and he's doing that.
Well, there's people who believe in Madden. They say stuff like, "Oh, he just says the stuff that everybody else is thinking." Like, no, he doesn't. I'm not thinking any of that stuff, like at all.
No, and now I think I let myself believe in magic for just a second because when they signed TJ, I'm like, okay, there we go. I want to see what kind of strange positivity Mark Madden can spin on this. My goodness, he just dumped vitriol over all of it. I'm like, you had all this hate, sort of.
Yeah, it's just all right. Well, so with the signing of TJ Watt, that makes the outside linebacker group the perfect room to talk about today. We've been breaking down a position every week, talking about kind of the state of the union for that room. And I think this is a really good time to talk about our very crowded outside linebacker room. So, Zach, tell us your thoughts.
That's a great word for it. Crowded. We are just an overwhelming amount of people and talent, because last year was a crowded wide receiver room, but we really didn't have people in it. This is just that we didn't have another TJ Watt. So I don't want to say that, we would have been fine without TJ, but I was trying to get into this weird mindset where, what if I'm completely wrong? And, I didn't expect that Metcalf trade. And what if we do end up trading TJ? I'm like, okay, well, we got Highsmith there. And then, you got Herbig after him and you have Sawyer after him. And then I just started going through. I'm like, okay, this is this. And now TJ on top of that, it makes me feel like we are unfairly blessed at that position. But then I started looking at a bigger picture portion about what that outside linebacker group means to the defense. And number one, there's a slight chance that the defensive line might actually be the defensive strength, despite how good our outside linebacker room is. And that's saying something. And then you talk about the steps we've made to bring. We have Jalen Ramsey on our football team. I have to wake up every day and remind myself that Jalen Ramsey is a Steeler. And we were talking about this a lot this week. And hopefully, as season goes on, and I'm hopefully proved right, I'll go into a little bit more of the X's and O's about it. But for a lot of Steeler fans, there's going to be kind of a big dynamic shift on defense that I don't know if you're going to like very much, because you've had the Troy Polamalu's and you've had the Mike Mitchells and you've had the Micah Fitzpatricks who have had safety-centric defenses. I really don't think that's going to happen this year. We have two safeties, and I called them boring in our green room, and Leanne brought up a great point that that's probably exactly what we need. And I agree exactly with that. But this front seven, this cornerback group does not need these safeties to go out and try to win games for them and try to be a Minka and try to no, we don't. We need you to sit back and play safety for us. And it's been a very, very long time since the Steeler defense has needed to ask that from their safeties.
Yeah. Yeah, before we were talking about it before the show, I agree. I really think that. I think that it's part of what went drastically wrong with the defense last year. We kept talking about getting back to playing Minka ball and all this stuff. And I mean, to me, it just looked like a lot of chaos at the safety group, and issues with other players, and then Minka trying to step up and cover for other people, and Patrick Queen trying to step in and cover for other people. And to me, you almost need to get back to guys playing their position and playing it really well. You know what I mean? You heard that from Cam Hayward a lot at the end of the year last year when they were losing. It was one of the things he said, you just do your damn job. Go out and do your damn job. Quit worrying about everybody else's job. And so my hope is that with all these new defensive players, with Minka being gone, and then there's some kind of, a realignment where we get away from the safeties having to shoulder the burden of so much, and instead get back to having these guys play in their position, do what they're supposed to do, and play really well, and hopefully be able to, make an impact this time and not be so inconsistent like they were last year.
I agree. And you're going to see ripples about what it means for not just the defense, for the offense when things work the way it's supposed to. Because I wish I could see the smile on Mike Tomlin's face when he realizes he gets to have a training camp of back to fundamentals. Yeah. That's Mike Tomlin to a T, because that's what this team needs. It's stop being fancy. Stop, just go out, play your position. Look, you have Cam Hayward playing next to you. Why would you just do your job? TJ Watt's across from you. Just do your job. The just do your job mantra is going to be across the board when training camp starts. I mean, it's insane to think that tomorrow when the Steelers players wake up, it will be to go to training camp.
Right.
I mean, that's insane. So, and because everything is there and all of our guys are signed, everyone's going to go in with the same mindset, and that's let's get this right. Because last year we're a very prideful defense in a prideful city, and we all got our asses handed to us a bunch in ways we're not used to. And this defense wants to make sure that we all forget that. And this outside linebacker group is not going to be as taxed. TJ is not going to be as tired. And when TJ doesn't feel like he has to be the savior of the defense, maybe he will be able to take a breath and go to that other side that we've all wanted him to go to, like actually physically, not like
He's
a
gonna have
metaphor
to.
thing.
He's got
Yeah.
to. He's got to. Like enough of it. He's got to. I know that he didn't want to, but like, dude, you don't get to decide all that. He's got to. We got to do something a little bit more creative. You know, it's funny for a couple of years there, our offense was struggling so bad with Trubisky, Pickett, Rudolph, right? That we constantly were able to say that the defense wasn't to blame for everything because they were on the field all the time. You know what I mean? And I think that was definitely true. It's not like that wasn't true, but I think it shifted some of the responsibility away from the defense and put it all on the offense. And we saw that defense do good things at times, but you know, they get worn out, they get tired. So last year we have this season where we finally have the offense actually staying out in the field a little bit longer and finding some success with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. We saw a much more successful offense. And I think then we did kind of see, you know, some of the cracks show up in the defense a little bit more. And you couldn't blame like, oh, well, they were tired or they've been out there 36 minutes this game or whatever. And so it did start to kind of show some of those cracks. And so, you know, my hope this year is that we have so many returning players. I mean, other than Minka, most of the core guys are returning. And I think that, you know, you can have those guys are going to be angry. Cam's going to be angry about how things went last year. TJ's going to be angry about how things went last year. Patrick Queen is embarrassed about his performance last year. And I think that they're going to really come together and with these new guys and build something that's much smoother, much better, much more efficient and effective. And, you know, and hopefully with the guidance of the coaches, Terrell Austin, and of course, Mike Tomlin, because he'll always have his hands in the deep end. Do you know what I mean? It'll just be something that's better suited to the players we have.
And the only thing that is out of everybody's hands that we just have to hope is health.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we deserve a healthy start to the season.
Yeah.
Because goodness, the amount of things that have gone wrong over the last little bit. I want to see Troy Fautano play football. Yeah. I want to see him play football. I want to see Broderick Jones not struggle because Troy Fautano can't play football. And more than anything, I want to see Cordell Patterson off this damn football team. I was fantasy football drafting last night, and I got to like one of the really later rounds, and I scrolled down and I saw his name, and I got so angry I just closed the draft and let it auto draft the rest for me. Like that's how angry Cordell Patterson makes me.
I forget all about him, and then something will happen, and then I'll remember, and I'll be like, oh, what the hell? Why is he still there? And I'm like, well, camp's starting. Yep. He's a body.
Yep. Let's hope he shows up and looks slow. Let's hope he shows up, looks slow, because this is where you cut people. Maybe Mike Tomlin's like, listen, this guy's a veteran. I know his family. I've had dinner with his wife and kids. You know, Christmas presents and all this. I'll let him understand why we're cutting him. And maybe it's that.
He has that connection with Arthur Smith, that longtime connection with Smith. And so I think that was a factor, but enough is enough.
I 100% agree. But overall, this is going to be a different Steeler team. A lot of older Steeler fans like Mark Madden-ish are going to be upset because it's a different Steeler team.
Sure.
But you asked TJ Watt and Cam Hayward near the end of the season in like week 14 or 15 when they're not nearly as tired as they used to be, how it is, and they're going to be happy people. And so will we be when TJ's getting 2 sacks in December.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's a lot of good stuff coming out of this unit this year, and I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be really good.
It is, and I'm just like I feel like that the kid before Christmas, where I know it's Christmas tomorrow, but Christmas is so exciting that I just can't imagine it's not like football, but oh my God, it's the next best thing. And it's going to be hot in Pittsburgh. So another reason Mike Tomlin loves discomfort during training camp. He loves it. And when you have a happy Mike Tomlin, then you have uncomfortable players, and that really builds a fiery team.
You know who else we keep forgetting to talk about when we talk about defense is Derek Harmon. I think we shouldn't underestimate the impact that kid could have. Do you know what I mean? In his learning process. He's only 21 years old. I mean, he's got a long future ahead of him, you know, a potentially very excellent storied NFL career. I mean, learning behind one of the best to ever play the game in Cam Hayward. And I think, you know, it'll be exciting this season to watch the kind of passing the baton, you know, to somebody like him and see him grow a little bit as the year progresses.
It really does. And I think the best part about this defense as a whole, and it's going to be a negative at some point, there's so much talent that people who you might not expect aren't going to make this football team. Yeah. Like names like Cole Holcomb have been on my mind, about guys who are uber talented and should have a spot, but might just be on the edge. And so that just means that when you put that team together and the season actually starts, what a group of men that's going to be. I'm just so excited. The more I think about training camp actually happening, the more I just want to watch Remember the Titans like 3 times in a row.
All right, Zach, anything else? Any final thoughts about what? About this outside linebacker room, about your throwback jerseys?
I am.
Or the wisdom heading into training camp tomorrow?
I'm ready for calm, weirdly enough. It's been a really weird up and down. My goodness, every day we're winning the lottery kind of off season. Now we're done. No more rumors. No more Terry McLaurin stuff. No more all of that. Everyone could put their head down and go to work. That's what I'm looking forward to, genuinely.
Do you really believe it's going to be calm? Have you met this fan?
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit, but I have to lie to myself.
Yeah. You got to tell yourself that. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do. I can't wait to watch the videos of everybody rolling into Latrobe tomorrow, what they bring to camp. I love those. I live for those when they're carrying like giant refrigerators and huge monster TVs and stuff into camp. I love those videos. Hear the guys talk about being back. I'm excited. I can't wait. I saw the Pat McAfee show is going to be in Latrobe next Wednesday, filming their show live from camp. So that should be really fun to watch a week from tomorrow. Yeah.
That should be. And quick shout out before we go. If you want to talk to Relic about a book, you might want to do that. So
yeah, if you're interested, I don't have it on me right now, but go check my Twitter page because I did tweet it out earlier today, and go support a new author in Relic. We're excited to be able to support him. Well, if you watched the show tonight and commented and played along, we really appreciate it. Please do us a favor and like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It really does help us out. And also, please find us on social media and find the podcast page on social media and give us a follow. And if you're catching this on the back end, let us know your thoughts about Watt's contract, about the throwback jerseys, and about what you think about the outside linebacker room from this year. We definitely want to hear from you. We will be back next Tuesday night to talk about our first week of training camp. Here we go.
Leanne and Zach would like to thank you for tuning in to the Steel City Huddle podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.